Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Hope you're doing okay. So we're back with another Alliance Leader interview, and today we have Darkshines with us. And so I'm going to roll the interview. It's about half an hour long, but there was a lot of really good insights into this, into Darkshines himself, the initiative, their trail of thought, what their philosophy on the game is, and I think it's a really good interview, so make sure you watch it all, guys, as I think you'll really enjoy his insights. But if you are new to the channel, guys, as always, make sure to drop a subscribe. A like on the video would be absolutely amazing, and also let me know what your thoughts are about the interview. Thank you, and let's roll the interview. And this evening we have Darkshines with us, who is the leader of the Initiative Alliance, who live in Fountain. So first of all, Darkshines, would you be able to introduce yourself to us, please?
Hey, thanks for having me on. Yeah, my name is Darkshines. I am the Alliance leader in the initiative. I've been playing Eve since 2004. Yeah, pretty much done everything, I suppose, in the game, at least that the game has to offer.
That's
And
quite a long time playing.
Yeah.
It is one of those games, isn't it, where you pick it up for like what you think is going to be an hour or two, then you're like, actually, I really like this game. It's something about it's quite addictive.
I just really wanted to play a spaceships game. I didn't know what mechanics there were or anything else about it.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
spaceships. I was 15, and yeah,
That's
it was
around the
just an
similar time I got into it,
right game.
actually.
Ah, nice. Yeah.
So as you're the leader of the initiative, could you just give us an insight of what your roles within the alliance are?
So yeah, it varies on day to day. I We've delegated out the work of the alliance quite well, I would say. We've about 100 people within the initiative who volunteer their time very kindly to helping out with the different bits and pieces that need to be looked after within the alliance. We've got about a dozen different teams or departments, and each of those are run by people then who kind of do a lot of the day to day. For me, I've actually basically just kind of relax a little bit and then pick up what's needed. Or if I need to step away from the game, I actually do have that luxury because we have a lot of people who can, like I said, do the day to day. The stuff I do look after would be FCing. Obviously, we do have an FC team, but I do try and FC when I can. That is my primary gameplay. If there's any high level diplomacy that needs to be done, which there isn't a huge amount, but if we're like coordinating with people for different ops or stuff, I would usually be involved in that. Anything to do with the holding corp. So for the last 3 weeks, for example, I've been quite busy redesigning our space around the new Equinox changes. And obviously, we've taken some systems in Delve which have needed to. There's a lot of director access admin that needs to be done to manage that space. So I suppose for the last 3 to 4 weeks, it's all been about Equinox Solve. But outside of that, it's mostly just fleets, PvP, stepping in where I need to if the teams need help and stuff like that. But yeah, for the most part, we've got a very solid team who do the day to day stuff, so I don't have to micromanage basically at all, which is nice.
Yeah, I mean, with Initiative being one of the bigger groups in Eve, I suppose there is, when you've got that many members and that many corps, there is a lot to manage and keep. It's not so much keeping an eye on everything, it's just making sure. It's even like, I think that's one thing that Eve doesn't, like, nothing else can compare to Eve, in the sense that, there's the whole space management, there's sov bills to pay, because we know what happened with BTACR where the sov bill dropped and someone didn't pay the sov bill, and there's so much
Yeah.
to manage. So yeah, a team of 100 is quite an impressive team to manage it all. So but yeah, I have dived into a couple things there which I do want to touch on in a minute. But first of all, what is your fondest memory in Eve Online?
Hands down, the best memory I have in Eve Online, and I've got quite a few. Like I said, I've been playing since 2004. So I can tell you about a lot of different things that
Yeah,
happen along the way.
yeah.
But my hands down favorite memory is the last day of the war in World War B, where
Okay, yeah,
yeah, obviously we were members of Imperium.
yeah,
Imperium was staged in 1DQ, which the Keepstar just died
yeah.
today. But Initiative staged at the other entrance to the constellation, which was 3 Tech D. So while Goons and Imperium held 1DQ in it, done its best to hold the Ingate and 3 Tech D over the course of maybe the last 3 or 4 months of the war. And on the very last day of the war, Init got tasked with defending the backline from the covert T3s that were being bridged in to get rid of the jammers so that Pappy could bring their caps into the constellation. Um, that went on for a little while. We managed to wipe out the fleets who were coming in to take down the jammers. And then we burned back to our staging, swapped ships into Munins, and bridged over Pappy's heads onto the 1DQ gate in T5ZI because the constellation was clear. Goons were fighting on the T5ZI gate in 1DQ. Pappy was mashing themselves into goons in 1DQ. And we bridged in behind them and just sat and camped the gate and killed as many reinforcements as we could.
Yeah,
And
I remember that fight. It was great.
but it's so just after that, we hear them. They're burning back to the gate. Goons say, "All right, everyone's reapproaching the gate. Time for you guys to get out of there." So we turned around and started burning. And if you look at the geography of Delve, there's kind of a loop you can take to get around through NPC space back down into Quirius and then back up and around into to 3 Tech D back into Constellation. That's what we were trying to do because we didn't have anywhere else to go.
Yeah.
And 2 jumps out of 1DQ, we got word that the Pappy Keepstars had started on anchoring. And getting to announce that over comms, getting to announce that we had won this 13-month war, even though we'd lost everything, that finally it was coming to an end and that we had won was the best memory I have. And then instead of turning around and burning to Delve, we actually changed direction into Iridia and then into Fountain and dropped that fleet off in NPC Fountain, which was the start of us starting to retake our home then after we'd lost it. So just that whole day was one of the best days on Eve.
Yeah, it was. I remember that. I remember that fight. I was on the gate fighting myself, and I remember it being announced over comms. You know, all Keepstars were anchoring, and I was just like, "What? Really?"
it was just so good.
Crazy.
It was yeah.
So how did you actually get into Eve then?
I had one of my friends from school actually. I was into console gaming. I wasn't into PC gaming. One of my friends from school was into PC gaming, and he got me into it. And for my birthday, he bought me the old box set of Eve,
Oh yeah, yeah.
and basically I installed it as soon as I could on the family computer, and the rest is history.
That's it. It was no longer the family computer; it was yours.
Nope.
Yeah, I remember that old box set. It was cool. They should do that sort of stuff just for nostalgia, really.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually tried to find mine last year or the year before last after FanFest, but it's buried in a box in the attic somewhere. I don't know where it is. I'll have to dig it out again at some stage.
Yeah. So what drives the initiative to be solely independent in nullsec as opposed to being, one of the blocks?
I mean, our philosophy is that for the game to thrive, people have to shoot each other. And a lot of the decisions we've made down through the years, even before I took over, because I only took over during the war, actually. Sister Bliss had been the leader for 12 or 13 years up to that point. And the vision of Eve that we had was always one where people are shooting each other. You can work together. you can work together to shoot other people. But ultimately, Eve is at its best when everybody is shooting each other.
Yeah.
And when you've got two mega blocks just sitting across this invisible line looking at each other instead of shooting each other, it's just bad for the game. So yeah, I mean, look, that's mostly what drives it. We love Eve
Yeah.
Online. We want to play Eve Online, and there's no point in us sitting in a Keepstar looking at Fraternity or PanFam saying, "I wish we were shooting people." Why not just, you know, make the progress towards what we want to see Eve being, basically.
Yeah.
Be the change you want to be.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a very good way to look at it, because I looked back not long ago at I think it was a 2014 soft map on Eve Maps, the daily soft map.
Yeah.
And the amount of different alliances and coalitions that there were then compared to now is insane.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um,
There are a lot of like and this is what I always say when I get into a discussion with my own group about this, is there's a lot of reasons to this. Blocks get a lot of hate. Some of it is deserved. A lot of it is not deserved. I mean, if you look at initiative, just when you're talking about a lot of smaller groups, up until 4 years ago, in it was, compared to what we are now, a much smaller group. We were maybe 1,000 real life people, 4,000 characters, 5,000 characters. Now we're about 3,300 real life people,
yeah,
26,000 characters. But a lot of those people, obviously, we have a lot of people joining just by themselves. But a lot of the growth that Init went through 4 years ago was due to smaller groups just closing shop and deciding to join an already established alliance.
yeah,
And there's a lot of reasons for that in the game that need CCP's attention and need fixing. It's not all about blocks chasing other groups out. So when we reset, it wasn't so much about who we were allied with or anything like that. It was just we wanted everybody shooting everybody, basically.
yeah, yeah. I mean, stuff blowing up fuels the Eve economy. If nothing was blowing up, then the people wouldn't be buying ships, and the economy would crumble, and then the whole game would collapse in on itself, essentially, wouldn't it? So
Yeah,
stuff needs to blow up on a daily basis.
and I mean, I'm sure it's the same in Goonswarm. We have people who will, unsub until they get sound or until they get wind of a war coming, and then suddenly you start to see these faces who've been AFK for a year waiting for
Yeah, we've had a couple come back.
So yeah, so I mean, there's people like the PvP.
Yeah, definitely. What was the next one? What do you think CCP could do to improve the geography of nullsec to try and mitigate the huge block meta?
CCP need to find a way to limit long range projection. I have a couple of things. Some of this is easy, some of this is not. My solution, which I've been quite vocal about publicly, to fixing jump bridges is not fatigue. Fatigue does not work. I would remove ACLs from jump bridges so that they could only be used by the alliance that drops them.
Oh, yeah.
And I would limit how far jump bridges can be dropped from your capital system. So let's say Init sets its capital system to CTAC-N. We can have jump bridges in Fountain, but for example, we couldn't build a network all the way up to Vale or to Pureblind or somewhere because it would be too far from our capital. And what that would mean would be that if Init had any allies, number one, they wouldn't be able to use our jump bridges, so they would have no jump bridge network in our space. And number two, it would prevent Init from projecting 3, 4, 5 regions deep, which is what's happening at the minute.
Yeah.
And the combination of everybody being able to use a single jump bridge in a coalition, plus those coalitions being able to span multiple regions, is, in my opinion, the biggest issue with the game at the minute.
Yeah, yeah. I'm thinking about it. That's actually a pretty fair comment, actually.
Now, that solution would absolutely suck for coalitions like Imperium,
Mm.
Pappy, everybody. I get that, but from my point of view, that's a pretty solid fix, and it would look pretty good, I think.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good suggestion to put forward. Have you ever put that forward to them?
I did. I put that
Oh,
forward on the CSM.
okay. They just didn't
Yeah.
listen then. Right.
Well, no, I would say CCP listened. I just think CCP have to be very careful about how they approach these things. They'll tell you that themselves.
Yeah. I suppose they can't balance it because the thing is though, like CCP, they have a tendency to they'll balance something, but the pendulum will swing too far the opposite direction. And I suppose
Yes,
it is
absolutely.
that balancing act and back and forth until it sits just
Yeah.
right, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, to be fair to CCP, they have made changes to jump bridges and stuff, and they get a lot of hate because people feel it's not enough. But from where I'm sitting, looking at what we have now and looking at what we can do now versus what we could do a year and a half ago is very, very different.
Mm-hmm.
Jump bridge networks are smaller. You can knock out a jump bridge in a couple of minutes with enough people, because there's no more damage caps on them.
Yeah.
If you ref them, somebody has to come and repair them, so you can kill the faxes, which we also do. They have made some good changes. Just until these big sweeping changes come in, you're not going to see much change to the
No.
Eve geography, I think.
Okay. Um, this one might actually thinking about this one might fall under future plans, so you can opt out of this one if you want. But what would you like to achieve with the initiative in the next year?
Um, it's a bit of a tough one because we don't have a solid plan. We've got lots of little goals, like get people into capitals, kick off a super and titan program, various bits and pieces. I don't have like we're not at war with anybody at the minute, so I can't say be an MJ by December or anything like that.
Yeah.
Um, we're just you see, like I said, during the war, Init lost everything. We had no assets, we had no ISK. We actually went minus a couple of trillion in ISK, same as Goons and
Yeah.
other groups. So a lot of what we've been doing for the last 4 years is rebuilding, and a lot of what we're doing this year, last year and into this year, was growing our dread fleet, for example, which we got to show off in Lantorn a
Yeah.
few days ago.
I was streaming that fight.
Um, yeah, so it's small steps. I'll put it that way. We
Yeah.
don't have one big arching goal. It's just a lot of little things,
Okay.
basically.
Yeah. What are your hopes for the new residents of Delve, Aquarius, and Period Basis?
My hope is that it turns into a free for all.
Yeah. That
Um,
would be cool.
yeah, we'll have to see how it goes. I think people are going to take time to get settled in, and then either they will decide they're big enough to attack initiative, or they will just fight amongst themselves, and we can go and get content as well, small gang content or smaller fleet content as well.
Yeah. I mean, partially, I was kind of had a thought. I wonder if it's gonna not the same because it's got NPC space, and two, it's slightly better space. But I was wondering, I wonder if it's gonna be like the next Provi. I don't know.
Um, it really depends what way that move in, what they do, right?
Mm.
Um, again, people give blocks a lot of shit for diplomacy and grouping up with each other, but that is the natural progression of Eve. We've seen that in the sea area where small groups started out independent and they banded together against other independent groups, and then suddenly you've got these mini coalitions forming. Um, Potentially the same thing could happen in Delph, or they could come up with some agreement where they don't invade each other, but they get fights every day. And that could be good for their members, allow them to grow as alliances. I really don't know. I'm very interested and I'm very hopeful for what's coming. I'll put it that way, but I don't really know what's going to happen.
Yeah, I'm keeping a close eye on Delve in that area because I want to see who goes there. I think Legion of Exdeath are moving to Aquarius, so they are not a massive group, but they're bigger than your average group.
Yeah.
I'm kind of hoping they just don't decide to stomp on everyone and anyone that comes in, but at the same time, it might mean those little guys band together to push back against them. I don't know. I am keeping an eye on it because it does. I think it could be quite interesting over the next 6 months there.
I think it's a bit of a gold rush at the minute. A lot of people are delving queries on period basis and saying, I'd like a piece of that.
Yeah.
Which is great. I mean, that's what you should be. So
Yeah,
I think it's going to
definitely.
be interesting. Yeah.
What are your thoughts on how the war's gone so far between Imperium and PanFam?
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand why PanFam gave up Innsmother. If you look at the geography of that area, it just seems like such a key area to hold to prevent entry into drone lands. So, I mean, maybe it's very hard for me to sit on I don't want the armchair chair general too much, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
But I think they probably should have put more effort into trying to hold Innsmother. But it will be interesting to see what happens now that they're each sitting either side of the drone regional gates, which are quite far apart. You have to gate in basically. So it could be a great defensive position for Horde, but goons could be inventive and catch them with their trousers then and get in. So it's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, I was just thinking then. I say it's going to be one of the other, isn't it? Whoever takes a fleet through that regional gate is going to run the risk of getting caps dropped on them.
Yes,
because all the regional gates are in range of both alliances stages. So I think you've got to get inventive, haven't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I think we've kind of covered that one. It was just about conflict drivers and reasons, stuff like that. I think we kind of covered that already. Here's a good one. How would you explain the initiative to a new bro looking at getting into PvP?
How would I describe initiative? I'll tell you what. I can give you an example of what we have done.
Okay.
There was a new bro streamer, Boolam. He had just started playing Eve. He was in high sec, and he was just kind of running around scanning things, and he had just moved in with a wormhole group, and they kind of fecked him over a little bit. And we got word of this stream, so we pinged it out to the alliance, got like 200 viewers or something, spiked his viewership, and then we brought a fleet of trashers up from Fountain to Highsec. He was chilling in Jeddah at the time, and we just went and ganked some random rattlesnake with him in fleet. So he didn't have a clue what was going on, but he seen a rattlesnake pop, and then he got the loot for it, and he joined in it a couple of days later, and he actually got a faction titan recently as well. So
Did he?
yeah, he's only been playing for about 6 months, but he's already got the faction titan. So
Bloody
I
hell.
mean, yeah, that's how we handled one new bro. Generally, we don't take on too many new bros. We don't have an SP requirement as such on the alliance, but a lot of our doctrines, well, number one, we have a lot of doctrines, and number two, they're usually high SP intensive. It's not always a friendly place for new bros, but we don't generally turn anybody away either. I think the most important thing about initiative is if you join, that you can learn quickly. And as long as you can keep up, you won't have any problems.
Perfect. So, I mean, yeah, so it's not obviously entry level sort of PvP place to go, but I think if you're still relatively new and you are interested in PvP, it might be worth looking at or speaking to someone at the initiative, seeing if, you can fly the stuff that you fly and see how it is.
We do have a new bro corp, Knock Knock, which is part of initiative. So we do have a place for people who are interested in it. Definitely nowhere near the size or the level of like Karma Fleet or Pandemic Horde, but we do have something there to to like a bit of a landing pad for people who
Yeah.
need it.
Oh, that's good, because I think it's really helpful when these big groups have a dedicated corp to intake. So to get them acclimatized to doctrines, nullsec life, because some people might be coming from lowsec, some people might be coming from wormholes,
Yeah.
and all nullsec, wormholes, and lowsec function very, very differently to what they might be used to. So I think a feeder corp, or not a feeder corp, but like a sort of entry corp is a pretty good idea.
Yep.
And I know you guys have been in Fountain a very, very, very long time, and I can probably safely bet quite a bit of money that you're not interested in moving. But in your eyes, with post Equinox, what makes a region like valuable to an alliance?
You could ask 10 different alliance leaders that, and they'll give you 10 different answers.
That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah, fair enough. There's a couple of reasons we like Fount. And like you said, we've been there quite a few years. I can't actually tell you when we moved in. I think it was maybe 2018, 2019, roughly. Up until now. The reason, look, like Delve, we've got NPC space in Fountain, so that can be both good and bad. Hostile Black Ops base out of it. You've got dozens of dread bombs in the stations over there. And Fountain is a big region, so it can be hard to cover everything. But on the flip side, the way we approach the game is if it's easy, it's not good for you. When I joined Initiative first back in 2012, 2013, they had just been evicted and they were living in Curse, and they had moved into a station with a group called Darkside, who was a Russian group. They were a bit bigger than they are now. I know they're still around, but the original Darkside were just amazing PvPers, and in it got the crap kicked out of it daily for months until they eventually, we had learned how to live in a hostile environment, basically. And we kind of approach Fountain the same way a little bit, where, sorry, 1 second. Sorry, my computer just froze. There we go again.
Right.
We approach Fountain in a little bit of the same way. It's hostile, but that's not a bad thing, because when people come in PvP, it's content. People learn. People get kills. As well as that, the rats that are there, Serpentis, they have very little HP, so they die quite quickly. So if you're rolling through anomalies quite quickly, Serpentis is a good one to do it in. And then as well as that, the other side of the NPC space is that we have missions, which you don't have over in Dronelands, for example. So we've got the Serpentis mission agents, we've got Amar Navy mission agents on our Losec border. It comes with the downsides of living beside NPC space, but there's a lot of upsides that we see that maybe other groups don't see. Unfortunately, though, with Equinox requires you to build wide rather than tall. And we prefer to build tall because it means we don't have to take a huge amount of space. I mean, if you look at Initiative's numbers, 26,000 people, we have 115 systems. Or we had 115 systems. I think we now have 140 or something, what we took in Delve. But if you compare our size to a lot of other groups who have Sov on the Dotland map, like you'll see NC Dot, who is a fraction of our size, Pandemic Legion, fraction of our size, but they have nearly twice as much Sov as we do. So we prefer to build tall rather than wide. Unfortunately, Equinox has forced us to start building wide, which is why we recently took space in Delve when Brave vacated. So it's got its good sides and its bad sides. There's not a lot of expansion room around Fountain, but at the same time, the region itself is pretty good.
Yeah. Well, because I lived in Delve for about about 6 years, and with having NPC space there, I spoke to a lot of goons about it and got different opinions, and a lot of people were, including myself, were all of the similar mindset that if you have NPC space within your region, yes, as you said, you get dread bombs, you get black ops gangs, and people can stage fleets from there and stuff like that. But at the same time, it's good because, as you said, you got content most days, but also it keeps line members on their toes so they don't get lazy, they don't get complacent when they're out, doing PvE or whatever, moving stuff. But places like drones where there's no NPC space, there's not much way to get dread bombs in. I feel like some areas like that, like even out in Deturrid, you might get lazy if you're not constantly being hunted by black ops gangs and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, you can still die to fleet through wormholes. I mean, and it uses quite heavily to kill people. But yeah, I mean, you're exactly correct in what you're saying. Like the worst, and I was actually talking to, I think it was Pando about this recently, but the worst time in its history is when we took space with the CFC up in Tino, because the space was completely safe. And it was the worst thing ever for us. Like it did not suit us at all. And then we moved down to Fountain, and Queries, which is NPC, like hostile space galore as such, and suddenly it's so much better.
Yeah, I think line members just get bored if there's no one roaming through to go and hunt. They have to travel really far. I mean, I know Pando does his public fleets from Jita and whatnot, but even like just everyone else doesn't have the public fleet availability, or you have to travel however far away just to get to somewhere, or filaments were a thing as well, which changed a lot. But I think NPC nullsec should be within I think every nullsec region should have not nullsec NPC nullsec within it, but it should be within range of NPC null.
If I had my way, I would take 5 systems in every region and make 5 NPC systems in every region in the game.
You just want dread bombs everywhere.
If CCP just let me in, just for like 24 hours, just give me 24 hours. That's all I need. And don't look at any changes, just let it happen.
You just want dread caches everywhere, don't you?
Oh, I love dread bombs. I mean, 21 years into this game, for me has been where it's at for the last 5 years, 6 years. So.
Dread bombs are really, really fun to be in.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone can ever deny that. And just as closing comment, is there any closing comments or anything like that you'd like to say, or put out to the viewers, or you're happy with?
I mean, there's a lot of things I could say. There's some stuff I probably shouldn't say. Yeah, I mean, no, just play the game, enjoy it. If you're PvP orientated, maybe take a look at joining in it. But other than that, we're equally happy for people to join. We're equally happy to shoot them as well. So, whatever keeps the game going is good for the game. It's good for us.
Yeah, brilliant. Right, well, I do appreciate you taking the time. I know tonight's been busy with that Keepstar dying as well. Been a busy night for everything, so I do appreciate you taking the time out. So thank you so much for that. And I will catch up. I'll catch up with you. I'll probably see you in space on one of your fleets. Well, not me on one of your fleets, but probably being shot at.
The other side of one of my fleets.
Yeah, the receiving end.
Cool. No, hey, thanks for having me on.
Right, thank you very much.
To showing it off a little bit.
Yeah, definitely.